How much do residents make in a year? Given the staggering cost of medical school, it's quite understandable for both DO and MD students to wonder how much money residents make and where they will land in those pay grades. And if you're wondering the same thing, then you have come to the right place. Hi, I'm Natalie Stoberman and I'm an admissions associate here at BeMo. Before we get started, make sure that you subscribe on whatever social media channel that you're watching this on so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And if you'd like our guidance on getting you into residency, click on the link above or below this video to schedule your free consultation. And FYI, check out the timestamps in the description of this video so that you can navigate to specific sections that you're interested in. Whether you're considering the most or least competitive residencies, in this video I'll tell you about what pay grades are like in Canada and the United States, how much you can make based on what year of residency that you're in, and I'll explain how pay grades are structured. Do you get paid during residency? Let's start by saying that acceptance into a graduate medical education or GME program is a prestigious achievement in the career of a young doctor. The thrill of specialization is now a reality, and you'll get to focus almost all of your time and energy on developing your skills as a medical practitioner. But medical school, either a standard MD or combined MD-PhD program, likely accumulated one of the largest debts that you've ever experienced. Furthermore, you were almost assuredly unable to maintain even a part-time job as an MD or DO student. And you've probably been solely dependent on loans, medical school scholarships, and institutional funding for the last 4 years or so. So the possibility of having any kind of income sounds like a dream. And now that you're undergoing your ERAS or CARMS applications, you're probably wondering, will I get paid as a resident? Fortunately, the answer is yes. Think of residency in terms of other forms of graduate education. Students in academic PhD programs almost never get admitted without some sort of offer of funding, whether it be teaching or being a research assistant or just plain old grants. There are many reasons for this, but the biggest is that the high-level education like a PhD or medical residency is truly elite. Very few people pursue this work, and by doing so, contribute significantly to the institution training them. This is especially true of medical residents who often staff clinics, teach, and most of all, perform rotations in hospitals. Residents are undergoing graduate education, but they are in many senses no longer students, but trainee physicians. As such, they are rightly paid for the broad spectrum of services that they provide to the institutions and the people around them. However, unlike most other occupations and paid graduate positions, pay structures for medical residents aren't negotiated on a person-by-person basis, nor do they vary all that much by their chosen medical specialty. Though some exceptions do apply, but basically how much money residents make is largely determined by two factors: institution and seniority. To understand how these two dimensions of residency shape salaries, let's look into the specifics of residency pay structures. Residency pay structures. It's important to note that residency pay structures differ between the US and Canada. And while both countries have pay structures that increase salary for each year in residency, the general difference is that US resident pay varies by individual institution, whereas Canadian resident pay differs based on the province in which one works, simply because of the difference in healthcare systems each country utilizes. The US uses a private, for-profit system in which many aspects of cost are determined by hospitals and institutions. And Canada uses a network of provincially administered systems, similar to what is often called a single-payer structure. As such, it makes sense that there's a more highly regulated and top-down residency pay structure in the country that utilizes greater governmental power to organize its healthcare. It's also one of the reasons why practicing physicians in the US are among the highest paid doctors in the world. How much do residents make in the US? Well, there are two main sources for resident pay information in the United States. One of them is the AMA's FRIDA database. This includes average first-year compensation numbers in a wide array of specialties. It's important to note that FRIDA also includes fellowships in their overall list, so the information can be deceiving. For example, looking at abdominal radiology, FRIDA lists the average first-year salary as over $72,000, which would indeed be incredibly high for someone in their first postgraduate year, otherwise known as their PGY1. However, abdominal radiology is trained in subspecialty fellowships after an initial residency in general radiology. So this number is in fact reflective of a PGY4 or PGY5 range. The other main source for residency compensation is Medscape's annual resident salary and debt report, which includes greater contextual information like breakdowns by years beyond PGY1, gender, and medical school debt. Medscape's sample size appears to be smaller than that of FRIDA. However, the most recent survey counted 1,600 respondents in approximately 30 specialties. So these numbers will somewhat vary by institution. Additionally, some of Medscape's calculations like overall compensation averages are like FRIDA. They're inclusive of fellowship programs as well. So when considering the higher end of these averages, it's important to remember that they're not pay rates for people fresh out of medical school, but rather doctors in a later PGY. Average resident pay in the US. There's very little variation in the PGY1 for most residencies in the United States. Pay ranges from around $57,000 to $62,000, and overall averages are then inclusive of a range of years and programs. So it's important to understand that average compensation for family medicine, which is short and ranks somewhat low on the list, is calculated from PG1 to 3 numbers only. In contrast, hematology's average compensation is ultimately an average of PGY4 to 5, so it would necessarily be higher for that reason alone. Check out this American salary range by residency year. The average for PGY1 residents is just over $57,000 US. Then in PGY2, we're at $58,800. PGY3 is $61,000 US. PGY4 bumps up to $64,500. PGY5, almost $67,000 US, and PGY6 through 8 averages around $68,500 US. So this all averages out to $63,400 a year per student, regardless what stage they're at. But before we get excited, there are a few points to make about these salary ranges. First, you need to identify that there's some sort of hierarchy. Residency programs available to recent MD or DO graduates don't appear on the specialty average list until the $64,600 category, with the notable exception of pathology. And this connects to our point above that overall averages like this must be followed by identifying the type of program, like whether it's a true PGY1 plus program or a fellowship or combined program. For the most part, the former category begins at the $64,600 level, and the latter is represented by the top 4 categories. The second point is that so-called early match specialties such as neurology, neurosurgery, ophthalmology, and urology have higher average compensation than those of normal match residencies. There are a few reasons for this, but mainly because each of these residency programs are typically quite long. Neurosurgery, for example, ranks among the longest residency program types, ranging from 6 to nearly 10 years in some cases. So the compensation average of a program that includes a PGY 5, 6, or even 8 and onward will necessarily be higher than a program like family medicine's 3-year data set. Other dimensions of U.S. residency pay. The Medscape survey provides some other relevant information for MD and DO students preparing for residency interviews. One is that the pay gap between men and women is far smaller in residency, about $700, than it is among practicing primary care physicians, which is a dropping 25%. A $700 average is beyond the margin of error, but it is at least somewhat more egalitarian than the post-residency landscape. Another point worth mentioning is that residency satisfaction with compensation is greatest in PGY1, which Medscape's survey has at around 49%. And this drops off significantly in PGY2 and 3, whose respondent satisfaction average was around 37 and 43% respectively. It's hard to pull much insight from this, but it's interesting to consider in relation to our earlier point about the relief that many PGY1 residents feel following admission to a paid residency program. That first year of no longer going into more debt and getting to practice your specific desired specialty may be the happiest you feel for a while before the incredibly demanding schedule of residency really kicks in through the latter years of your program. The majority of residents in the U.S. also receive added benefits like health insurance, paid time off, and dental insurance, among other perks. Due to the nature of the American healthcare system and medical union activity, these perks vary quite widely by institution, but are common to at least 3/4 of residency programs. Lastly, it's worth mentioning that there are quite a few options for non-salary compensation in American residency programs. There's on-call assistant shifts, moonlighting, and hospital coverage shifts. Given the volume of mandated work in residency programs, these one-off or occasional opportunities won't make too much of a difference in one's overall income, but they can help offset any surprise expenses you may encounter during residency. How much do residents make in Canada? If the above discussion of how much residents make in the US felt confusing, I've got great news for you. Things are a lot more straightforward in Canada. Resident compensation is typically negotiated between residency associations or unions in the provinces. As such, average resident compensation is easy to chart and understand. Average resident pay in Canada. While these pay structures are typically reported by province, it may be easier to compare if we examine the first and sixth year of residency and fellowship across provinces. Keep in mind, all numbers refer to gross annual salary guidelines. Let's start with PGY1. Alberta sits at $57,200. BC, $57,064.62. Manitoba, just over $60,000 to start. Newfoundland and Labrador, also just over $60,000. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI, $66,000.154. Ontario, back down to $60,397. Quebec drops their range to $48,000, and Saskatchewan just under $60,000 a year to start. Let's jump to PGY6 and compare where those scales jump to. Alberta, $84,000 to start. British Columbia, $85,734. Manitoba, $88,282. Newfoundland and Labrador, $85,000. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI topping the list at $92,000 to start. Ontario, $86,710. And then Quebec, rounding out the lower end of the scale at $73,000. And Saskatchewan, sitting at $85,879 to start. Now, for a full overview of resident salary ranges per year, go to the link to our blog post in the description about how much do residents make. But based on the first and sixth years of residency, you'll see that on average, residents in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI are the highest paid, while residents in Quebec are on the lower end of the scale. On top of that, the increase from year to year is about $5,000, but that is roughly the same in each province. Other dimensions to Canadian resident pay. In addition to annual salary, resident associations also negotiate the amount or scale of other benefits like vacation time, call stipends, educational leave, and even parental leave. Plus, resident associations and unions will negotiate for a greater array of benefits. Some agreements include meal allowances, dental coverage, and even wedding leave. The point is that each province offers a slightly different residency experience that isn't totally captured by its gross annual salary numbers. So if you're looking to apply to residency programs in Canada, I recommend examining the full chart on CARM's website to fully understand the way that these additional benefits can affect your quality of life during residency. Conclusion. Before we end, let's go back to the Medscape survey again. It's worth noting a couple non-monetary measurements of resident life. Firstly, of the 1,600 respondents surveyed, nearly 80% reported being satisfied with their learning experience. And on top of that, 88% reported having good to very good relationships with their attending physicians, and 82% reporting the same with the nurses and PAs that they work with. So overall, residents are quite happy with their programs. And while compensation may vary, the experience and structure of these programs continue to be a transformative time for each successful resident. There's no doubt that residency will be challenging, but take a deep breath and think long term. When it comes to money, you'll have plenty of time and funds to pay off your medical school debt after finishing residency. As long as you can afford the basics during this time, you should try to enjoy it as a once-in-a-lifetime experience and not mere wage labor. Plus, as nice as it is to make the jump from growing debt to moderate pay, the next jump up to physician salary, often 4 or 5 times what you've earned as a resident, will feel like winning the lottery. Well, if you haven't already, you can check out our blog for more stats on residency wages. I've included that link in the description of this video for easy access. And if you'd like our help to get into residency, click above or below this video to schedule your free consultation. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, so please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Do you have a question about this video that I didn't cover? Let me know in the comment section and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching and see you next time.